Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Bite and Early. The crew today talks about the NFL draft, the first round last night. There was a couple surprises. The Houston Texans come to mind. And of course, we have to talk about our favorite teams and what our teams did and what we feel about that, all right now on Bite and Early. Sports. Nate, what is going on, my friend? Oh, man, just initial reactions, man. How you feeling this morning?
Craziest draft I think I've witnessed in quite some time, if not in my entire living, breathing life. Just the general mock drafters, so your usual suspects, I feel were way more wrong than they normally were, and it's just crazy to see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It felt like a lot of unknown. Just in general, just every time somebody was up to pick, there was just a lot of like, what is this team going to do? Not really sure where they're going to go. And I saw that even a lot last night with you all on your stream. And if you didn't catch the crew last night, they had a nearly 4-hour stream, but they streamed during the entire draft, just talking through the picks, reacting to the picks. I would tell you to go back and check that out. But it was just, anytime you guys would have a conversation around different players and, different scheme fits and everything and then they would go somewhere completely different. I saw it on the ESPN stream. They were talking about, I remember the Cowboys, they talked about Michael Mayer and how he'd fit with the Cowboys. And then the Cowboys didn't take a tight end. So just very interesting, very unknown, I felt like, throughout the entire draft, from quarterbacks to running backs going early, all the way through to the end. But let's just kind of start at the top. Bryce Young, unsurprisingly, the Panthers take him. Do you think that was the right pick over a CJ Stroud?
I think Young was probably the most polished of all the bit four prospects, QB prospects that people were talking about. He seems to he definitely was a better player in the last 2 years, which is when most of the four played. So I think that was the best possible pick for them. I don't think that Stroud would have been a bad pick for him either. But I think for them to potentially compete in the South, I think Young was a better pick because, I mean, let's be honest, NFC South, that division winner probably could be 500 or lower again.
Yeah, I am. I just keep remember to our mock draft when James reacted to both Stroud and Young going to AFC South teams, and here they are at those AFC South teams now. I agree with you. I think Bryce Young probably. I like CJ Stroud more. It just seems that the scouts and everybody talking about it kind of like Bryce Young more. So, they probably both are fine. They're both going to be good quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't anticipate them being busts by any means. I don't know. I'm interested to. I like where CJ Stroud is more, just because of what the Houston Texans have done this offseason and bringing some of the guys in like a Dalton Schultz, Robert Woods to catch passes for him. So I like where CJ Stroud's position a little bit more. Obviously, when Kev jumps on this morning, we'll have to talk about Bryce Young and Frank Reich. But yeah, we're not necessarily going to be too worried about Bryce Young either. Let's jump into trades, man. It didn't take long, right? Like I wish I would have. I had a nice reaction video. I didn't get it all set up this morning. I should have got up and had a little bit more coffee, because I was at the draft live when the first trade went down, when the Houston Texans traded back up to get the 3 spot from the Arizona Cardinals, and I was shocked, and the crowd was shocked. Just to I don't think anybody was shocked that the Cardinals were trading. I think everybody was shocked when they heard Houston is now on the clock. And CJ Stroud, so they like panned into CJ Stroud and showed him. I don't know if they showed him on the television, but they showed him at the draft, and he was like looking back at the stage, like, wait, what? Am I being traded? Like, what just happened? So it was just a very shocking time around when Houston traded back in for that pick. Awesome, really exciting, just to have that type of drama while you're at the NFL draft. But ultimately, the Cardinals traded the 103 and then the pick 105. They received the 112, 201, so pick 33 tonight, a 24 first and a 24 third. The Cardinals got a pretty good haul here to move back 9 spots. Who do you think kind of won this trade between the two?
I think it's a win-win for both. Honestly, there are trades that, everybody's a winner. I mean, not Cleveland. Houston, had some first-round picks to trade out of with the Browns stuff. So I'm wondering if that 2024 first is the Browns pick or is their pick. But either way, I don't think the Browns will compete anyway, so they should still have a good pick. But getting probably the best defensive talent in the draft to pair with a QB. I mean, they got some offensive weapons, so I think this trade worked out well for them. And the Cardinals had a lot of holes, so to get some more draft capital moving forward, it was very pertinent for them. So I think it's a win-win personally.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with Cardinals need to get more draft capital for sure. And Houston had a little bit to play with. Good morning, John. Thank you all for joining us here on Bite and Early, our first round reactions. Hit us up in the chat. Jump in there. Right now, we're just talking trades, talking about this Houston, Arizona trade. So the first of Arizona's trades, and really who won the trade. So if you have your thoughts, jump in the chat and let us know. I will say this: while I was at the draft, one thing a buddy and I were talking about was, does Arizona take CJ Stroud, or excuse me, does Houston take CJ Stroud at 2 if they don't have this trade already in place? Like, I kind of felt like this trade was in place, ready to go. And that's what prompted the Houston Texans to go ahead and take CJ Stroud with the confidence that they're about to get Will Anderson as well, because all the talk leading up to last night was they were going to take Will Anderson and they would figure out quarterback later, which, as we saw, they would have had a chance to take a Will Levis whenever they decided to take a Will Levis. But that's kind of the way I was viewing this. Like, they took CJ Stroud with the understanding that they already had Will Anderson in the bag. Do you have any thoughts around whether or not they would have taken CJ Stroud if they had not made this trade?
I think that they should have still taken a QB. I mean, I know they weren't really enamored. Obviously all the smokescreen reports were coming out. But I think they should have taken a QB because you can't go into another year rocking the corpse of Davis Mills there moving forward. So I think they still would have taken Stroud personally.
The long necks of Davis Mills.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I don't know when the trade came. Obviously, I know when the trade came through at the draft, but I don't know how long they had been talking about it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It didn't take long for the Cardinals to move that pick 12 as they came back up into the top 6. They actually traded with the Lions just a few picks later. The Cardinals received picks 6 and pick 81, and they gave up pick 12, 34, and 168. So they had already received pick 33, right? Yeah, pick 33 from the Houston Texans. It throws me off because that's the first pick tonight, but the last pick was 31 because the Miami Dolphins didn't receive, like they lost their pick. So it just throws me off that they kept, like they kept the second round starting at 33. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no, the Steelers have pick 32.
oh, okay. Some reason I thought this was the first one. I'm like, why would they skip 32? Like, did they just do that because? Okay, that makes sense. I was missing one in there. So the second pick, they already had the second pick tonight. So they had the second and third. They went ahead and moved the third pick from tonight, pick 34 plus pick 168, to move up to pick 6, and then they also got pick 81 from the Detroit Lions, all to take your boy Paris Johnson Jr. I heard you on the show last night reacting to this live. Give us some of your reactions now that it's the next morning.
I mean, that's a good pick for the Cardinals. I mean, obviously, I was a little salty last night because that's who the number one person that I wanted. But for the Cardinals, you know, they've got a bunch of holes, but this just makes sense because, you know, I don't know exactly when Murray's supposed to be coming back. I think he's missing a few games. But I mean, he really, you know, needed some offensive line help. Plus they got some draft capital out of it. So I think it was a great trade for them. No complaints out of me for that one, aside from the selfish reasons.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm a little surprised they jumped up to get him, but you know, maybe they felt like they had to get ahead of, you know, the Chicago Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders just to be able to get their guy. But I feel like they could have stayed at 12 and probably taken a Darnell White or Wright, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, or Broderick Jones, who went later on at 14. So maybe I guess the Cardinals must have just really put Paris Johnson on a pedestal against those other guys because there was plenty of offensive tackle depth in this class. To trade away pick 34 just to get up to get this guy, that seems a little rich to me. But again, you know, I guess if the Cardinals loved him way more than the other tackles that went in the top 15, that's kind of the price that you pay to get your guy. Oh, I didn't even talk about Skoronski. He went right there at 11. So there was plenty of offensive tackle depth. I think this was a little rich for the Arizona Cardinals to go up to get this guy. I don't know. I would be interested to hear what they had to say about that trade. To trade away pick 34 to go up here when they could be sitting on 2 picks this afternoon or this evening and really be sitting in a good spot.
You know, maybe, you know, they come from a place of depth. And I mean, I don't think moving back up 6 spots, that wasn't a ton to pay for, in my opinion. So, yeah, you're right. It'd be nice to see, I guess, the reasoning and stuff. But I mean, Paris Johnson wasn't going to last that long.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't think Paris Johnson was going to last to 12, but there was other options. That's kind of where I'm coming from. Is like, why do you give up pick 34 to go up and get Paris Johnson Jr. when Darnell Wright, Peter Skoronski, Broderick Jones, like there's so many options. So they really must really put him in a full tier above the rest of those guys. That's kind of the way I would assume that the Arizona Cardinals see it, to go ahead and move up to get that guy, knowing the depth that we had in this class at offensive tackle. We want to welcome in Kev. Good to see you here this morning. I don't know what time it is. You don't know what time it is. You and Nate were on stream late last night, getting up early for biting early this morning. Kev, I just want your initial reactions, man. Like, how did you feel about last night?
There's a Jim Halpert meme from The Office where he's just like, "What is going on?" And that's about my That's my quick take. Not only, I mean, I'm not going to spoil all of it because some of it I know we're about to get into detail here, but there were a couple of I can't believe they did that, and they a couple of them from the same team, and there are a couple players where I can't believe that they fell there, and yeah, just absolute shock. Not to mention, I know you guys talked about the trade a little bit before I got on, but that's freaking unprecedented, right? We made the comment on the live stream. That was like something that somebody would do in their Madden dynasty, right? Where you just trade a bunch of assets for the future to just load up on this draft, knowing that you're never going to play seasons 3 through 5, you know, so you might as well just get rid of all those future assets. It was insane that a real life NFL franchise made those moves yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with that. Nate had a pretty good point, though. You know, Houston is sitting on a whole bunch of picks from the Deshaun Watson trade, so kind of gave them a little bit of that flexibility to be able to sell the farm for this draft, right?
Yeah, that's true. They were kind of like they were that proverbial dragon in hoarding all this cave gold. Yeah, so at least they put some of it to use. That's for sure.
Absolutely. We just talked a little bit about Paris Johnson Jr. and the Arizona Cardinals trading back up to get him. Kind of throwing you in here, but you have any thoughts around the Cardinals making that move? You know, I don't know how much you heard. I kind of feel like it was a little bit too much, too rich. Nate was kind of more on the side of like, hey, you know, it's not really that much. It's one pick, and you got the guy that you want. What's your thoughts around the Cardinals moving up from 12 to 6 and giving up pick 34?
I probably lean in your direction, Trevor. While I do agree in theory with what Nate's saying, like you want to go get your guy, and I do. Obviously, I'm high on Paris Johnson Jr. I think we talked about him in our mock, so go check that out once again. I know we mentioned it last night, but we were pretty spot on some of these in our mock, and Trevor here did a great job of whittling it down from 2 hours to 6 minutes. So if you really just want the quick, what did we do? How right were we? Go check it out. But my thing is the price seemed, when you combine the price with the fact that there were other players at this position still available, and if memory serves, there were still those guys, maybe not at 12 actually. Now, and Skoronski, I know we talked about this last night too. He doesn't quite fit the mold, and a lot of people might think he ends up playing guard. So maybe that's it. So I'd have to go back and look at the tape, so to speak, and see exactly who is left on the board at 12 for them to take a tackle. But I will say this: I saw a lot of other people move up in the draft with hauls that I thought were pretty paltry. You know, seeing someone move up, the Eagles, in fact, when they got to move up to get Jalen Carter for only a fifth rounder or whatever that was, like there were some pretty crazy hauls, in my opinion, that I thought were pretty light. So I will just say that I thought the Cardinals maybe didn't need to give up that 34 right there. They maybe could have given up something else, but yeah, maybe a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah, good trade for the Lions, I think. Now the Lions had a big old blunder later on, but a really good trade here for them. And just to speak to what so the Bears started the offensive tackle run with Darnell Wright. Then the Titans took Peter Skoronski at 11, and then the Steelers took Broderick Jones at 14. So while in that scenario, only Broderick Jones is available, you have to think that if the Cardinals don't come get Paris Johnson Jr., then Nate's boys in Chicago probably take him. The Titans take their favorite of Peter Skoronski or Darnell Wright, and then now the Cardinals had two tackles to choose from. But again, I feel like they just put Paris Johnson Jr. in a whole tier above all these guys, and we're like, no, that's the guy that we want. Let's go get him. And I think they paid a little bit too much, but to their credit, you go get your guy. What is up, D West? Good morning. Good morning.
Hey.
What's D West? Who's D West a fan of?
D West. Who is his pro team, Nate? I don't know. I will say we got to give Oh, go ahead, Nate.
I don't know whose pro team is, but he definitely has to be happy with the back half of that draft there.
Yes, sir. Miles Murphy and wait, and maybe he can tell us how to pronounce it. Is it Breesy? I know it's not Bree, or however Roger Goodell pronounced it last night, but both D West Clemson boys got picked. That's the important part.
Oh, okay. Clemson guy only then, huh?
Yeah,
All
we know
right.
he's a big Clemson guy, and actually, little shameless plug here. He is going to be on the show with Nate and I tomorrow morning, so he'll be right here. Not quite so bite and early, but it'll be kind of early. And one more, and he says it's Brussay. Okay, good to know. Good to know. And another shout
Say.
out while David is here. I know I'm often live every Thursday night on the bounce, which is why you don't hear me talk about it too much, but our man David is out here driving the Bite Size Sports number 9 car in the iRacing League. Kicking, I know, I'm just going to say, I know it's early, guys. He's kicking some ass out there for us, making that number 9 Bite Size car look great. So big shout out to D West down there.
I'm really excited for you guys' show tomorrow. I think I was texting you, or I think I might have said in the Discord, like, I just want to know a little bit more about iRacing. I want to hear his thoughts around it. I want to know how he got into it. Like, how do you get into something like that? Just so I'm pumped for that show. I really am excited to watch that show and hear from him. And he's always here in our chats. We do appreciate that, and obviously representing not only his own brand, but the Bite Size brand as well on the iRacing network. Where do you guys want to go next? You want to just kind of keep moving down the board to the Eagles trade, and we just keep talking through some of these trades if you guys are good with that. And really, the next one has Nate's Bears involved. The Eagles move up one spot. They swap with the Bears, and they give up a 24-4. So the Bears and Eagles literally swap one spot, the 9th and 10th pick. The Bears collect a 24-4 from the Philadelphia Eagles, just for the Eagles to draft Jalen Carter, who I know Nate was fine with, according to last night.
Yeah, no, I totally was fine with it. I mean, for Carter, he's got to be in a situation where he's got a lot of veteran leadership, just because, I mean, look what's happened in the past 5 months off the field. And then there was some questions of, his effort and how he feels about, the sport of football. So it was not going to work very well in Chicago. So to get an extra 4th out of it, I mean, they probably could have traded with somebody else and gotten a little bit more, but I'm still okay with it. And Bears ended up getting a tackle anyway.
Yeah, I wish they'd have traded with somebody else, making it that easy for the Eagles to just slide in there and take their guy. And if I can just once again promote our mock draft, this was one I honestly felt vindicated with this pick after this trade, Trevor, because I took Jalen Carter with the Eagles pick at 10 in our mock draft and felt all kinds of nervous about it because people didn't love everyone loved that pick for Carter, but not for the Eagles. So it's interesting to see that with their other pick in the first round, which I have some thoughts on later as well, they not only have done a lot to just really pad that defense, but it's going to be a very tight unit with all those guys, all those Georgia guys up front together, right? Insane.
Yeah, 4 Georgia guys from the from the last 2 drafts. I firmly remember hearing you say, "I'm going to send it, Jalen Carter." You were spot on. And it's a really, really good fit. I firmly agree with what Nate's talking about with the having those guys around a guy like Jalen Carter, having those veterans there. The Eagles have that. Plus, as Kev mentions, got the Georgia guys there with him. I think that will help him and hopefully allow him to have a long, successful NFL career. And he doesn't allow the issues that he had coming off of the national championship game. essentially destroy his entire NFL career. Like, look, we've all made young, dumb mistakes. Hopefully you learn from it. Hopefully you get better. Maybe you even get back to the community a little bit and you just play football. Because when this kid plays football, man, is he a stud. And it's not fair that the Eagles get him coming off of a Super Bowl championship run. I mean, they didn't win it, but coming off the Super Bowl, right? So it's not fair that they get a guy like Jalen Carter, but man, is he going to be really good football player if he can get the off the field stuff handled.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, not fair, and in a great position for himself, not only with his teammates that he knew of, the people he already has a bond with, but isn't this the same team that got together and they do calendars and they did a whole Christmas album? I mean, I'm just saying, if there were ever a group of guys to bring you in and say, hey, you're going to hang out with us, we're going to get this ship righted, I think this is the perfect situation for him. So I see we do have our dear friend Johnny Football. He had a rough night last night. I know I'm sure we'll talk about those Vikings picks soon, but he's got a very interesting take here on Seattle. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. Maybe a sneaky option for winner of round one, right? With what were they doing there?
I'm just shocked that JSN even fell that far. But good for Seattle. I feel Seattle doesn't necessarily wide receiver wasn't absolute need for them. Obviously with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett's getting a little bit older. So maybe this is a time. But when a guy like JSN falls that far and you're sitting there at 20, you're like, oh, okay. Well, here he is. He's the best player on the board right now. Let's go ahead and snag him, and we'll figure out the rest later. Really, really sharp pick here for Seattle at 20. And, of course, in the top 5 as they finished – they were the 5th, right? Yeah, as they finished up the top 5 with Devin Witherspoon. But I was shocked that JSN kept falling. I kept putting in the chat last night with your guys' show, like, who's going to take him? Where's he going? Why is he falling? So for him to fall to 20 and for Seattle to go ahead and pull the trigger there, I think it's a really good spot for JSN to go ahead and learn beside a guy like Tyler Lockett, a veteran who's been in the league for a long time. And of course, DK Metcalf is absolute stud. So good picks here for Seattle for sure. And I would agree. I think they got to be up there with the best draft of the first round. Let's see here. Nate, any thoughts on Seattle?
I think they set up very well. I don't know that they're the winners of the first round like the Eagles are, but they definitely set up well moving forward. They're at least better off than the Lions.
That is very, very true. We will definitely get to that Lions pick. There were 3 more trades still. Let's get through a couple more of them real quick. The Steelers moved up from 114 to 17, or excuse me, from 117 to 114. And the Patriots added pick 120 from the Steelers with this move. The Steelers move up to take their offensive tackle. The last one, I believe, that went in the first round. Am I missing one? I am missing one. Anton Harrison went later on to the Jags. So the fourth one that went in the first round, Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia. The Steelers moving up to get their guy. I don't feel like pick 120 was too much here. Get a move up 3 spots, get your offensive tackle. I think this was a pretty good move for the Steelers.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate, what do you think?
Definitely. I mean, they didn't give up a ton to move up. So, I'd make that trade every day in my sleep.
Yeah, and D West making a really good point here.
Yep.
On the other end of that trade, the Patriots moved down 3 spots, gain pick 120, and still get Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. I agree with this. I think in our mocks, we had him going maybe top 12, top 14. So to get him down at 17, I thought was a really good move. What time does round 2 start? I believe 6 o'clock tonight. Sorry, 6 o'clock right time.
That's
Here
right.
in the central time zone, 7 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. But yeah, it'll be exciting. I'm pumped for it. I will not be downtown for the start of the draft tonight. I will be back home, probably eating pizza, having a libation, enjoying the draft from my couch. But we will be going down there today, though. So I am excited to get back down there, taking my 7-year-old down there just to see the experience, guys. There is so much behind the scenes that you don't see on the TV, which is awesome. You know, I would maybe at the end I'll give a little bit of a recap from yesterday because it's just really cool, all the stuff they got going on behind the scenes at the NFL draft.
Yeah, that would be fun, and I'll let the folks know right now if they're interested in seeing a little bit that Trevor did us a solid, and he shared some of that behind the scenes or on the scene footage from last night. So if you want to get a glimpse of what it was like behind the cameras, you can go check it out right now. Everywhere Bite Size Sports is on the internet, all socials right there.
Yeah, thanks for posting all those, man. I was just like sending them a constant, so that was a good time. It was a good time. Back to the trades here. The Giants traded. Wow. Okay, so they they moved up one spot. They traded a 5th round and a 7th round pick to go from pick 25 to pick 24, swapping with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and drafting what I would say is a really good pick here in Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Our boy Johnny Boyd has been talking about this guy quite a bit. I think he liked him for the Packers a little bit there, for the Vikings a little bit. But the Giants get him here at pick 24 right after the Vikings passed on him.
Yeah, he's got things didn't go quite as well for Minnesota as John wants, but hey, still got that shot at Brian Branch. Might trade up, but yeah, was kind of surprised there to see. Not necessarily surprised at the move, like you said, it was a pretty solid move to get one up. But yeah, the Giants taking Deonte Banks, I think that's a solid pickup. One of my, I don't know, maybe it's tough to say. Is it our third best corner in the draft right now? Right up there. I know we got Witherspoon, we got Gonzalez. We're both pretty high on both of those guys, or all the three of us are. But yeah, I think it's a solid move overall.
Yeah, I like it for the Giants there. They could certainly use some help on the defense a little bit, and they're kind of building it up, even with paying Danny Dimes 45 for however many $1 million a year for the next couple of years. So I think they hit on it, and I mean, giving up a 5th and a 7th, generally those picks don't turn out to be anything. I mean, sometimes you can get some hidden gems there, but I think that worked out well for the Giants.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's where they needed to go. They have to go defense here. Offensively, Brian Dable and crew are really starting to get this team on the right track, get Danny Dimes on the right track. They picked up Darren Waller this offseason, so you had to go defense here for the Giants. And then the Jags moved down again. They're that fantasy football owner who's like, no, just keep giving me all the picks. I'll just keep on moving down. I'll get my guy later. They moved down to 127 as they swap with the Buffalo Bills, who moved up 2 spots to draft Dalton Kincaid. And this kind of made a little bit of sense. Get right in front of the Cowboys, who were really tied to a tight end. So I assume they're just looking at, hey, let's just get in front of these guys. Let's get the tight end that we want to replace Dawson Knox. Man, I mean, really in Buffalo, I feel like the pass catchers have not been as good as we expected them to be. Gabe Davis hasn't really shown consistency there. Dawson Knox he'll catch 3 touchdown passes in a random ass game, and then you won't see him for weeks. So obviously Steph Diggs is great and phenomenal, but to get a guy like Dalton Kincaid, I think was a good pick here for the Buffalo Bills and a good trade up. Any thoughts around this last trade of the first round?
I'll say it surprised me a little bit, but I guess we know the writing's on the wall for Dawson Knox. I'll say that was wasn't expecting that, but it wasn't exactly my first need that I would have thought of for them. But it's a good fit. Going to be a great player. Nate, what do you think?
I think that they're going to be splitting Kincaid out wide a lot more than him on the line there. I will say I think they picked the wrong tight end though.
Yeah, it should have been Michael Mayer. We all know this. I mean, not that I'm biased. Don't look above my head or anything. Tight end, you baby. What are we doing?
Oh, Nate, I just noticed your little headline there. I love it. Where's James when we need him? Let's just keep rubbing it into him.
I do love that. Hey, thank you, John. Shout out, special appreciate you. Thanks all of you guys joining us in chat right now. We really appreciate it. Especially
this is fun.
It's the only thing that I will get up this early on a Friday for is all of you folks. All right. This is fantastic.
That's right. Well, biting early, a little coffee. I think Nate, you got an energy drink rolling here?
I do.
Oh, you guys, like I heard somebody open one earlier.
Got to start my battery with battery acid. Go ahead.
I've got water with these little crushed watermelon
shots of vodka.
No. So like, you know, the orange crust drink, but they have like watermelon flavor ones. So I'm drinking watermelon, whatever currently.
I love to see the sunshine out back, out of your screen there. I'm down in the dungeon, so I assume the sun's finally shining here in the central time zone. But I know when I came down, it was not. It was still dark. So this is awesome. I appreciate everybody being here. Let's get back into the draft talk though, because that is why you are all here. I'm going to catch up on the chat before we go to the Indianapolis Colts pick.
Oh God.
Let's see here. All right. How far do you think Simpson falls? Another Clemson guy. D West thinks he's going to go today. I would agree. I think that he should probably a little bit later on, but definitely should go. I agree. Round 2 got to be someone's favorite linebacker. Excuse me, I forgot to put this on. With the poor camel going at 18. Yeah, another Lions pick that I think we all agree who lost the first round. If we're choosing who loses the first round, D-West says he liked Kincaid to the Bills since they don't need Mayer's blocking. So I guess you could agree with that as well. But now let's get to the Colts, Kev. Let's get to the Colts, and let me hear your thoughts on Anthony Richardson.
Well. It's at last we were finally here. It's what we thought it was going to be, right? Came down to Levis or Richardson. I know you guys talked a little bit about smoke screens before I was able to join, and we were correct about the CJ Stroud negative narrative being a bit of a smoke screen. And I had a sneaking suspicion that all the Will Levis suddenly becoming the number one guy, odds on favor, I had a feeling that was more gambling related than anything the actual analysts were feeling. So I'm not surprised by any of that. And I think the Colts made the right choice here. And I've said it before, so I'll keep it brief for those of you who've already heard it. I think either quarterback was going to be a project, whether it's Levis, whether it's Richardson, you're going to have a project. So in my opinion, you take the guy who has the higher ceiling, the most upside. And that's not even to mention, as it was brought up in the chat, I forget the name, so shout out. Go ahead and check it out, the live stream last night. But that's also, we got Shane Steichen's offense to account for as well. So as some people in the chat were saying, year 1, it's going to be, is Anthony Richardson the guy? And then by year 2, it's going to be, he's the guy, because you're going to have a chance to work with Steichen's offense. Now, I am going to remain optimistic. I'm not quite as sold as some of the folks are who said last night that he's going to be a 20-10 guy, 20 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns in Steichen's offense. That'll be great. That'd be somewhere near the ceiling. I hope to strive for that. But at the end of the day, I'm excited because I get to see Uncle Rico, Gardner Minshew, lead the team for at least 1 to 4 weeks. And then we'll see what happens with Richardson, because I do believe the one thing with this guy is you've got to get some reps. He's only played 13 games in college. I don't think he played that many snaps in high school either. So he's got all the talent in the world. He's got to get on the field. He's got to get more reps. And that whole 1 out of every 4 unpressured passes ended up in the stands, that kind of bothers me. But, we'll see. Overall, I'm happy. I would have been James levels of stressed and John levels of disappointed if Will Levis had been the number 4 pick. You would have heard the hello, darkness, my old friend. You would have heard the sounds of silence coming from me, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I love it. Dude, I am absolutely pumped for Anthony Richardson. I talked him up on our fantasy football show. Obviously, as a fantasy football guy, Anthony Richardson fits the brand of quarterback that I love in fantasy football. That's the running quarterback. He's going to give you the points with his legs. He's got that floor. Huge ceiling. And I agree, actually, right here with D West. That's exactly what I was about to talk about is he's got a huge ceiling. He's definitely not the most NFL-ready quarterback right now. CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, NFL-ready, start week 1. If they're not the starters, then those organizations are doing something wrong. Anthony Richardson might not be NFL ready, but I mean, I would disagree. I say throw him in week 1. Just let the guy do his thing. Don't have a quarterback controversy. I think that these organizations get into this controversy when they don't have a good quarterback in line. The Chiefs were really lucky to have a guy like Alex Smith when they got Patrick Mahomes. There was no real controversy. There was some guys that still said they should have played him in year 1, but there was no real controversy because you had a stable quarterback. The Colts don't have a stable quarterback right now. The 49ers, I didn't really think Jimmy Garoppolo was a stable quarterback. I think they should just put Trey Lance in early and just seen what happened. And instead, now you essentially wasted a 3rd overall pick on a guy like Trey Lance. I don't want to see the Colts do that with Anthony Richardson. Put him in there, let the guy ball out, and see what happens. Give him that full year to develop. And like you said, then maybe year 2 in Shane Steichen's offense, he can really flourish. I love this pick. I am so happy they took Anthony Richardson over Will Levis. I don't believe Anthony Richardson would be sitting in Will Levis's seat right now if the Colts have taken Levis. I think somebody else would have went ahead and gotten a guy like Richardson. And we'll talk Will Levis here before too long, but love this pick for the Indianapolis Colts. Love this pick for fantasy football. I'm going to be taking him anywhere and everywhere I can. I've already got him I'm already lined him up in one draft because I've got the 101. He's ready to go in a super flex league. Like, I can't say enough about Anthony Richardson, the most athletic quarterback ever to come out of college per player profile. They've done this for like 300 quarterbacks. He's the most athletic quarterback they have ever tested out at playerprofile.com. I love Anthony Richardson, and I really like this landing spot with the Colts.
Now I like it even more. So there we go. I was only halfway in. Trevor sold me.
You got to be all in. D West says he doesn't think Richardson doesn't play much this year. I'm not disagreeing with that take. Like, even with what you said, you probably have to see Carson Wentz week 1 to 4. That is probably the way the Colts will go. I just wish they would. I just wish they would just throw him out there week 1 and let the boy play and see what happens there. But I'll get off my soapbox because you can tell when I start to really love a player, I will just keep on talking about him. And I'm pumped for you guys as Colts fans. Obviously, we work with you, Cav, and we've worked with some of the other guys who used to run the Indy Intercept crew. Like,
right.
I'm pumped for all of you because you've been looking for a quarterback since Andrew Luck randomly retired in that August day. That still haunts the Colts fans. But I think this is a new day. Anthony Richardson is here. Maybe not to save everything, but definitely to give hope back into the Colts.
Yeah, not a lot of shows make it 7 seasons, but I think this 7th season of Life After Luck might finally turn around for the Colts. Nate, how do you feel about the pick, though? We've got the pessimistic fan who every glass has been half empty as it pertains to the Colts. And then Trevor obviously is max high on this guy's potential. Where do you sit with it?
It's definitely better than picking the psychopathic Mitch Trubisky 2.0 and Will Levis, because God forbid who puts mayonnaise in their coffee. But for real though, Levis doesn't have as high of upside in my opinion. So Richardson is a risk, but it's a higher upside risk, and the Colts needed to take something like that moving forward. I don't think Richardson doesn't need to play this year. I think this is a lost year for the Colts. They need more help in various other spots, and Kevin, you can elaborate on that at a later time.
We don't have enough time today,
but yeah, so Richardson all the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, I tried a little Hellman's in my coffee this morning, and that's why it took me an extra 24 minutes to get on stream. So I do not recommend. 0 out of 10.
I was gonna say I should have just done it for the bit. Brought down a little mayo, got my coffee all ready to go. Just dump her in.
Oh yeah, no, we had a Colts content creator, Logan. Check him out on Twitter to try that, and his first report was like, "Oh, this is better than I thought," and then within about an hour, he's like, "Oh no, I'm going to lose the rest of my day. This was a terrible idea."
No, thank you. No, thank you. Let's talk Bears. Nate, give us your reaction here to the Bears. They did trade back one spot, as we talked about earlier. You mentioned last night on the stream, you were okay with Carter not coming. You talked about that a little bit earlier as well. But how do you feel? Ultimately, they finally make that pick at 110 and take offensive tackle Darnell Wright. I know that the mock draft you talked about Paris Johnson, so maybe offensive tackle was the right move. But what was your thoughts here with Darnell Wright, offensive tackle for the Chicago Bears?
2 thumbs up on it. Think about it. Really, we got Darnell Wright and DJ Moore in the first round. If you want to think about it, kind of.
That's right.
So 2 thumbs up for me. I definitely didn't want Carter just because there's just a lot of off the field questions. Unfortunately, a lot of interesting decision making. I think he needs stronger veteran leadership on the defensive line, and Chicago unfortunately doesn't have it. So he was the best player on the board and one of the top 2 players in the draft in terms of talent, but there's just some question marks that the Bears needed to address more so than taking a risky pick, in my opinion. So I'm fine with the draft pick, fine with not getting Jalen Carter. If Anderson had somehow dropped, that's who I would have wanted, but there was no way he was going to drop out of the top 5.
Yeah, I like it too. It's not a flashy pick. All these offensive tackles can be boring as fans, but it helps that team and it makes that team a little bit better on the front. And I didn't think about it the way that you just said it. DJ Moore, a first round pick as well, because they did trade back here from the 101 so the Panthers could draft Bryce Young. It just happened so long ago that you kind of almost forget about it. And DJ Moore in Chicago for Justin Fields. And, maybe Justin Fields will be the king of the North. Don't tell the rest of the bite-sized guys. But look, you want to talk about fantasy football, Justin Fields is my man as well because he does the same thing, dude. Gets on those legs and takes off running, and I think he'll be a fine NFL quarterback. He looked really good last year. A really good perspective to what he looked like previous years. So getting rid of Matt Nagy helped Justin Fields.
I will say I'm curious what would have happened if the Falcons didn't take Bijan, because there was a lot of smoke, whether it was fake or not, with Bijan going to the Bears. And that would have been an interesting pick, even with spending money on Donta Foreman and Travis Homer, which whatever on those
Those
two.
are just guys to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Camp bodies.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that would have been fun. Bijan there. I like what the Falcons are doing building through the offense just because, I'm an offensive guy. So I like what they're doing. Bijan to add to Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Desmond Ritter. We'll see how Ritter does this year. But, yeah, I like what the Falcons are doing. That was kind of a fun pick. A little surprising, but kind of a fun pick. My Kansas City Chiefs, I'll just give a quick thought here. Brought King Felix home. Got to redo it. Comes home, Dude, he is from North Kansas City, so really kind of cool that the Chiefs were able to pick him up out of K-State, 6'3", 255 edge guy. Frank Clark is getting older, so this was definitely a need. Somebody to kind of replace a guy like Frank Clark. And really, by time the Chiefs picked, like I was talking last night a lot about the Chiefs potentially just trading out. And not to say that Felix wasn't worth the pick, but most of the guys that they had looked at, potentially a number one wide receiver, those were all off the board. They went in a hurry. I think 4 straight wide receivers went there in the early 20s. There wasn't any more offensive tackles on the board. They could have went tight end to, think about potentially, that 5th-year option, a guy like a Michael Mayer that we talked about. But ultimately, they take Felix Anudike Uzoma. I'm pretty sure I butchered it. I do it every time. But North Kansas City guy out of K-State, I'm pretty pumped for this. Exactly what they needed and probably the best person on the board at the time for what they needed.
Retweet that. Go ahead, Nate.
I gotta ask. So, what was that Clyde Edwards-Helaire heartbreak tweet mean?
Cryptic, man. Cryptic. I thought maybe he was going to be shipped out. I thought that's why he sent it out yesterday. But no trade happened. There's DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get traded. That's the guy I thought maybe Clyde was going to be a part of that trade potentially to Arizona. But then the reports came out that Arizona was going to trade with the Titans. And the Titans were going up to get their quarterback. And then that doesn't end up actually happening. I don't know. I was a little surprised that just overall, I was surprised that no players were traded yesterday. Right? Especially after last year, we had the big one with A.J. Brown and Marquise Hollywood Brown being sent off, 2 different trades, but no players traded yesterday. That was a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know if now I assume Hopkins will not be traded now at this point because we're out of the first round, but maybe, I don't know. Is Clyde somebody who could be moved as part of one of these day 2 trades? Is there enough of a move you can make in the second round that would warrant a player trade of his caliber?
Yeah, he can definitely be moved. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe they brought him in yesterday. It was like, hey, look, just give me a heads up, right. We don't have anything in place, but we will be shopping you this weekend. Something to that matter. Maybe that's what broke his heart. And, these NFL players also, like, they're also human beings. Maybe it had absolutely nothing to do with football. And he has a personal life too, but
I hear some athletes have those. Not a lot of people on Twitter enjoy it when they do. It's a very, very questionable life decision for any athlete to try to have a personal life, or any person in the public eye for that matter. So, bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how that pays off.
Yeah. Why would you do that? If you're hanging out with us this morning, thank you for getting up and being with us here on Bite and Early, a bite-sized sports presentation. We're going to go through a couple, favorite picks, worst picks, those kind of things. So get involved in the chat with us. Let us know. We're going to start with most surprising pick of the night. So if you have your most surprising pick, let us know in the chat. Nate, I'm going to let you start us off. Most surprising pick last night.
Will McDonald, just because I think he could have been there at the Jet spot in the second. Although, did they trade the second? They traded the second to Green Bay, right? I forget offhand. Either way, I think he could have been there in the second at a spot where they could have taken him. I don't think anybody was going to be taking him early. I would have liked him for the Bears at that point in the second round. I just think it's a little high for him personally.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I'm sitting here wondering, would he have been there in the second round? I think that one's a question now. But it could have been an opportunity where maybe they could have traded up, something like we saw some of these other trades. That, what is it? Maybe throw a fifth and a seventh in there and slide back in later in the first to go grab Will McDonald. So all right, Nate, I like that one.
Thanks for that, John.
Nate, I'll let you go. Or sorry, Kev, I'll let you go next. D West says Gibbs for sure was the most surprising. Yeah, Gibbs at 12. Yeah, if we are talking surprising right now. Go ahead, Kev.
Well, I might end up using this answer for multiple questions here today, but yeah, D West and John are two very talented individuals. They also are working as my producers right now. They just didn't know it, because I am also going with Gibbs at 12 as my what in the hell are we doing here, folks? Pick.
Stupid.
You want to talk about he'll be there in the second round. 100%, right? Please raise your hand or let me know in the chat if you genuinely believe that Gibbs would not have been available in the second round to the Lions, or God, at the very least. I mean, if I can be honest here, I think Gibbs would have been a huge reach at 18 for me. I mean, if you really wanted to, I guess you could have done that. To me, Bijan Robinson was the only running back that would have been worth taking in the Lions situation, because they have a couple of good backs. They can't quite ever get it right. I know Swift can't stay. They got guys who can't stay on the field, but a team that had been on the rise, they were doing so well. And then, they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. Lions, man. I do not understand it.
Yeah, they got pick 34. No way Jahmyr Gibbs isn't there at pick 34. They absolutely could have taken him there. Very surprising. I'm going with Paris Johnson Jr. Not because of where necessarily he went, but again, I talked about it a little bit earlier. It is the most surprising that the Cardinals gave up pick 34. They could have been sitting on 33 and 34 this afternoon, still got an offensive tackle, and said they moved pick 34 to go up to get Paris Johnson Jr. In a class that I think is relatively strong at the top in offensive tackle. So just the everything surrounding this pick was a little bit surprising to me. You move back just to move back in, you move down just to move back up and get Paris Johnson Jr. That was a little bit surprising to me. Favorite pick of the night. Let me start with the favorite pick of the night, because I talked about it once. I'll talk about it many more times. I'm on a show tonight that I'm actually burning both ends of the candle. So early morning and a late night show. I'll be on a show from 10:30 to 11:30 Central tonight. So
it is late.
I guess I better make sure it is Central Time, because he is on the East Coast. But you can find that. I don't know what he calls his show. It's Tyler, the Creator, on YouTube. I do know that. But I'll talk about it most often, and I'll talk about it on ADP on Wednesday night. It's Anthony Richardson, baby. My favorite pick of the night. Talked about it already. I'm not going to go into it again, but that is my favorite pick from last night. Kev, I'll move it to you.
Well, your favorite pick certainly makes me happy. It makes me feel better about my team's future prospects, but my pick of the night was also a runner-up for my biggest surprise, but this was I like D West there, his selection too. This was more of a I'm so surprised that this happened in a good way. This was the antithesis of, everything has to be balanced. So we had to have a counterweight to the insanity that was the Detroit Lions. So give me Nolan Smith there at the Eagles. What was that, 30? How was this man still available at 30? And also, I know it's one of those the rich get richer sort of situations, right? Maybe they could have addressed a need there, but instead they just built up a strength, in my opinion. Like we said, we have four players from the same defense in college. It's going to be absolutely nasty. So give me Nolan Smith was my favorite pick of the night.
Yeah, I was hoping one more pick. One more pick, the Chiefs could have snagged him at the end.
That's what we thought too. I was like, oh my God, if Nolan falls to the Chiefs, sorry.
No, that would have been awesome. I would have loved it. Nate, favorite pick of the night?
I gotta go with my bias and say Darnell Wright, but if I had to be completely unbiased, I'm going Will Anderson and the move the Texans did to move back up to snack him.
Yeah, I love that. I was shocked that it happened, but I love that they went back and just like, hey, look, we like both of these guys. Let's just make both of them a part of the Houston Texans. D West in the chat says he really likes Gonzalez to the Patriots, and John agrees with Kev. Nolan Smith at 30 to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Highway robbery. Or something easier than that. Yeah. It's a train robbery. Something just wow.
This one's going to be hard to find differences, right? I think we all agree who the worst pick of the night was. Kev, I'll let you start on this one. Give us the insight of why was this the worst pick of the night?
Oh man. Well, spoiler alert. It's going to be, you can also probably just press rewind if you want and listen to my previous take for surprise of the night. But yes, Gibbs at 12 has to be the worst pick of the night, in my humble opinion. Again, I thought they maybe reached twice in a row. I do like Jack Campbell. I think that's kind of a bummer. He just we're not the right fit, or not the right fit at that right time. So yeah, but Gibbs, what is there to say? I'm going to take one of D West's notes here from the comments, and we're gonna highlight that really quickly. There are around 15 interesting running backs in this draft. Vaughn, Spears, Miller. There is plenty of talent at this position in later rounds where I think the Lions could have gotten more value, and it also might have fit their whole committee approach that they have used. I mean, apparently they're not convinced by whoever they currently have. I didn't think the running back situation was that bad in Detroit that it warranted using their top pick on somebody who was not named Bijan Robinson, but there are many other reasons. I hope I didn't take all of them for you guys, but I'm just still stunned that the Lions did this.
Yeah, I don't know if I always think about like, is there an actual chance that they were expecting Bijan Robinson to be here, and then when he wasn't, they like go into panic mode? I mean, these guys are paid millions of dollars to be really freaking good at what they do. So surely the mental aspect is not really there. But I still think every once in a while, like, did they just have it in their mind, I'm taking Bijan Robinson? And then once he's not there, they're like, well, we already expected to take a running back. Let's just take Gibbs. Like, that's what it feels like happened in that war room yesterday. Because this is astronomically like, what the heck?
That you could be right. It's almost like they were on auto draft. We'll bring it back to our fantasy world here for a second. I made that joke last night that it's auto draft, but it's somebody who filled out a queue and walked away.
That's
because
right.
They were working from their own sheet. There was everybody else's draft analysis, and then the Lions were over here not letting anyone see their work, just saying, no, we've got our own sheet. We don't care what any of you think about anything. We're going Gibbs at 12. We're going Campbell at 18. Insane, Nate. What do you think?
Just the Lions in general. Lions are going to line. I mean, the Campbell pick doesn't make any sense for how early that was. And then I don't need to say anything else about Gibbs that hasn't already been said by either of you. So I don't know what the Lions were doing. I mean, maybe they were eating glue or sniffing air freshener, huffing paint or something, but
We're huffing something.
like I don't biting
They
too
were.
many kneecaps, maybe. I don't know.
What is there anybody else out there? Like, did anything else shock you to the point of like outside the Lions and their bad picks? You know, there wasn't really like the Patriots didn't go and get some linebacker that they could have gotten in round 3 like they normally do. You know, was there anything else out there that shocked you a little bit? I've got one that confused me. I don't really think was the right pick. But I wanted to see if any of you guys had anybody else that maybe not the worst pick, obviously, because we know the Lions got that wrapped up, but just kind of a shocking, you don't really like it. What were they doing type of pick?
I mean, just to go back to my surprising choice, just Will McDonald, just because I thought he was going to be there later. And it just, doesn't really make any sense, honestly.
On a positive surprise, I will take Nate's best move and bring that one up. I think the Will Anderson that trade absolutely floored me. I think there were 5 bite-sized sports co-hosts all at once with our jaws detached. What we're supposed to be making content right now. Because wait, what? Wait? There was a trade. CJ Stroud was up on the stage. Like, wait, did I just get traded? Did I just get Eli Manning, dude? Like, what happened to me? Am I Pip Rivers today? What is going on? No, it's a complete shocker.
I love that you brought the Eli Manning thing. That's what I said while I was at the draft. I was just I wasn't sure what all you all could see on the TV, but we could see them like show CJ Stroud as he like looked back to the stage in shock and like what just happened. And that was exactly, I'm like, he thinks he just got Eli Manning. Like that just happened. Obviously they didn't. I also said when they picked CJ Stroud, like one of the first things out of my mouth was, I really thought they were going to screw that up. And they didn't. Like I really thought they were going to take Will Anderson at 2 and just move on and not have a quarterback. So for them to get both of those guys, very surprising and a really good move, I think, for the Houston Texans. I mean, they I think could be right up there with the Eagles and who we were talking about earlier that we thought was that won the draft.
Seahawks, yeah.
The Seahawks, that's right. Yeah. So I mean, I think they could be right up there in the top 3 of first round winners. Mine is not as positive. I was really shocked that the Chargers took Quentin Johnston. This is a guy that was starting to really start to hear rumors about him falling out of the first round, going into the second round. A big bodied wide receiver who plays really small. I was really thinking that he was going to fall a little bit further. I wasn't really expecting to see him that early, and I really wasn't expecting. Like I expected the Chargers to take a wide receiver, but Jackson Smith and Jigba had just gone off the board, so they had everyone still to pick from: Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston. So for them to take Johnston over those other guys, most specifically over Zay Flowers, that was quite surprising. He just feels like another Mike Williams type to me. And Mike Williams is good, but he can't stay on the field. He's not healthy. He plays too big. And Quentin Johnston doesn't play as big as Mike Williams does. But it almost feels like they're trying to cover that up. I know Keenan Allen's getting older. So it made sense for them to go wide receiver. I just didn't like the wide receiver they picked.
I agree with that. We were blessed to have Justin Herbert in the chat last night, as we do often, most nights here on Bite Size Sports. Now, I should point out that it's not Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. Just so happens to be a fan of the Chargers who has the same name, but Justin was pulling for, I believe, Zay Flowers. I know Michael Mayer was high on that particular Chargers fans list, but we all felt confident that, well, there's a lot of decent receivers here left. We think we're going to get a guy here for you. in LA that's going to fit the mold. And Quentin Johnson, although I do believe he's got some upside in this league, I agree with Trevor. I don't know that it was the fit that they were looking for. And it seems odd to me that, a guy like Zay Flowers was there. That's probably who I would have taken. I've been admittedly high on him throughout this draft season. So I agree with that. That was a good pick. An easy one to forget with some of the chaos that went on last night, but that one is a bit of a head scratcher.
All right, let's talk a little bit about today. I mean, any more thoughts on yesterday? I guess I'll let you guys kind of throw any more thoughts out on round one. We didn't really get into the quarterbacks a whole lot. I mean, we kind of touched on all of them. Will Levis falling out of the first round was very, very surprising. Worst pick is whoever takes Levis today. Nate says it's going to be the Titans.
That's right.
Nate, you're on mute.
Going to be the Titans. We all know it's going to be the Titans.
So, any more thoughts on that? I mean, yeah, Will Levis falling out was kind of crazy. Vikings can still get Branch. It's okay, guys. Maybe they can get him. What are you guys looking forward to tonight? Nate?
I just am curious who the Bears are going to snag with their couple of day 2 picks. There's a lot of defensive talent still available, so I'm really interested to see which way they go. I'm forgetting offhand who's still left on the line, like edge rushers and stuff. But they still got a lot of stuff available here, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, I am interested in we got day 2. Of course, I'm interested in where Michael Mayer goes, but as far as my Colts, who I believe are still sitting there at 35 with a decision to make, and there are some offensive linemen that I think they could get their hands on. So help me out. DeAndre the Giant has not been drafted, correct? I know we had a lot of linemen go off. I don't see him up here, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. But that's my pick. That's my homer pick. That was my mock draft. That's who I got. So I will be excited to see where the Colts go, and happy that once again they have a pick early in the draft. I'm not one who does well with anticipation, so it's nice to go ahead and get that Band-Aid ripped off so I can just go back to focusing on what's at hand.
And it won't be Will Levis, so that'll make you feel a little better as well.
Yes.
You don't have to sit around and wait on that. Yeah, I was just gonna mention for you, Nate, guys like Keon White are still out there. A Necessary Roughness, our NFL flagship show on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. They're big fans of the Kansas City native, Duapaware. I can never say his name, man. The cat out of Northwestern on the edge there. So that could be an option for the Bears early in the second round. So there's a couple of guys there. One of the guys that stand out for the second round that, Nick brought up in the mock draft is Osiris Torrance out of Florida, offensive line. Kind of interested to see how early he goes. Obviously, Will Levis, where does he finally land? I have one more that I'm going to throw in here to you guys. One more question that I didn't put on the show sheet. So just prepare. I'm going to ask you where you think Will Levis actually ends up today. But I'm actually really interested in the tight ends. This is a draft class that we've really talked a lot about, whether it was the mock drafts, Necessary Roughness, anyone and everybody has been talking about this tight end class and how deep it is. We've mentioned Michael Mayer multiple times this morning already, but he's not the only one out there right now, right? Luke Musgraves out of Oregon State, Darnell Washington, the big monster out of Georgia, Sam Laporta out of Iowa. Iowa is huge with tight ends. They just have so many. George Kittle comes to mind already, right? Like they're a tight end factory there. in the Midwest. And then Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State gets injured this year. He was being recruited by Alabama to transfer to Alabama. Like, this guy is good, even though he went to a small school. Definitely could be NFL talent. So I'm just interested to see where these tight ends go today and how many go today.
So I didn't put it on the sheet, but two people I thought of that I am interested to see where they end up falling. One would be Andre Carter, the edge guy out of Army, and see where he ends up getting drafted. Just because, I mean, I'm not saying like he's going to be, you know, an elite talent or anything, but there's always that storyline with, well, is he going to get drafted, and what's the whole scenario with the, you know, service requirements that he needs to do. And then the big boy out of North Dakota State, Cody, I can't pronunciate to save my life on anything ever, but it's like Monch or Manch, something like that.
I wonder if the CH is like a hard, like a mock. Is it or is it a ch? I don't know.
I'm not really sure
on this one.
Mach sounded fine to me. I'm just more curious. I don't know what it is. But yeah, big old offensive tackle. Moke. That's what the chat's saying, Moke.
Hey, look at that. Like it.
Finally woke up. Lee's out in Arizona. He's retired out in Arizona. It's probably, what is it there? Like 5 a.m. at this point? I don't know what time it is there, but thanks for jumping in. Very interesting second and third round tonight. Hendon Hooker is still out there, a guy that had kind of been talked about with Tampa Bay a little bit there towards the end of the first round as a fifth quarterback off the board. I was completely wrong. I said multiple times, I think all four quarterbacks were going top 10, and Hendon Hooker had a chance to be the fifth one. That obviously did not happen, but kind of seeing where he goes, especially from a fantasy football outlook, could he be the starting quarterback this year? But let's take a couple here. I know we're an hour 15, but I'm actually having fun now. So if anybody has a hard stop, you just tell me. We can shut it down. But right now, we have a little bit of time. At least I do. So I want to know, truly, where do you think Will Levis ends up today? Team, pick range, whatever, however you want to kind of dissect this or believe this is going to happen. So what's your predictions on Will Levis today? Kev, I'm going to let you take the floor first. Where does Will Levis go?
So let's consider this. I will go ahead and take a scenario in which there are no trades. How about that? And then I'll leave you guys some more flexibility to maybe have somebody trade in. The most realistic landing spot to me, looking at the second round, is most likely, I almost said Oakland, Las Vegas at 38, maybe Seattle at 37, because I know this kind of has gotten forgotten about and didn't happen at all during the draft. But Seattle was one of those teams, despite the Geno signing, where a lot of people thought maybe Seattle would draft a guy who's more of a project, who can be in line, a year or two down the road after Geno, trying to set up that next guy. Because while we all love the Geno story, and he really did earn it this year, he has had a long journey to get here. So we're not really sure how wide that window is open for Geno. So maybe the Seahawks, though, to me personally, I think it's a stretch at this point based on what we saw from them in that first round. I think they very much believe that they can win right now. So I don't know if you're going to use this early of a draft pick on a quarterback. We might see them if somebody else slides, like if Hooker continues to slide because of his injury, maybe an O'Connell, maybe the kid out of BYU, maybe we'll see them go quarterback in a middle round. So for me, guys, to make a short answer long, give me the Raiders at 38. I think that's where Will Levis goes.
And legitimately, I think the Rams might spend a pick on Levis, but like my little tagline says, Will Levis, you will be a Titan today. And it's not just a joke, even though it's real funny. Malik Willis looks like somebody who should not be within 100 yards of a football field. Tannehill's got 1 year left. I don't think he's going to age super gracefully, so they need to make some decisions about what they want for the future of the quarterback play. And they got their offensive tackle, offensive guard in the first round. Why not take a roll of the dice on the Kentucky quarterback, who I don't think is very good anyway, but you're kind of in desperation mode a little bit. And I don't think the Titans are going to have a super high draft pick next year for Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, I like that. I wish the Titans would just give Malik Willis the reins and see what happens. Like, I know that they played him a couple games last year, but again, just see what happens. I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback either. So there's a reason he fell so far in the draft last year. But the Titans really want to grab the falling quarterback again? That would be my question there. If you're in the chat here with us this morning, thank you for being with us. Let us know, where do you think Will Levis falls today? Whether it's a pick or a team, let us know in the chat. Where does Will Levis fall today? Before I address your Drake May question, D West, I'm going to talk about where I think Will Levis falls. And I will talk trades, because I think that Nate was spot on with the Rams here. 205 today is a really open spot. What are the Rams going to do? They need a lot more if they want to get back to the promised land before guys like Matthew Stafford are aged out. But maybe they want to start playing the long game here and kind of wait it out. I don't think they play the long game. I don't think they go quarterback. I think they go elsewhere, just because they want to get right back to the Super Bowl. They've got all the guys still, and all these guys keep talking about retirement. The coach keeps talking about retirement. So I think they're going to go for somebody who can help them right now and win right now. So I don't think they'll end up ultimately pulling the trigger, but I do think that would be a really smart move for them if they wanted to play the long game at quarterback. Let him sit a full year. That's a team that has a stable quarterback in Matthew Stafford that he can sit behind for 1 or maybe 2 years. But again, I don't actually think they do that. I think the Seahawks are, a sharp play as well. The Raiders are in play. Ultimately, I think that if nobody trades into the top 10 picks today, then I think that that's a really good indication that this guy is going to continue to slide. And actually, one of the spots that I had pinned for him was the Seattle Seahawks, but I picked 52. Not the early ones, but I picked 52. They've got a second round pick. I really think that if nobody comes up in the first 8 to 10 picks to get him, then settle in, boy, because you're going to be sitting there for a while. And I don't know who would necessarily be the team to come in. Maybe the Falcons. We talked about them a little bit in the first round, potentially going and getting a quarterback if they don't trust their rookie from last year, Desmond Ridder. The Titans definitely could be in play to come up and get him. But ultimately, I think that if he falls past the Titans at 210 today, he's going to continue to slide. And I think that shows us that maybe we don't know everything about Will Levis, unfortunately. So that's kind of my prediction. I think he slides to pick 52 to the Seattle Seahawks.
52. I like it. Not for poor Will, but
no, not at all. I mean, this is a guy that they talk top 10 talent, and maybe he is top 10 talent. We got to be missing something though that these NFL teams know if he's going to continue to slide like this for sure. Okay, D West asked in the chat, am I the only guy who doesn't think May is all that? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really done a whole lot of digging into next year's draft, but I know Drake May is a hot topic, and I think that really with all these quarterbacks, there's a couple guys that will be up there, like a Caleb Williams, like Trevor Lawrence was, like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were this year. But you always get those other guys like Anthony Richardson, like Will Levis, these guys that you don't really expect to be talking about next year. So I'll see how that ends up. But I would say, I expect Drake May to be probably a top first rounder, barring an injury next year. Barring an injury. Clemson shut his ass down last year. Okay. You guys have anything else? I mean, I'm happy to talk anything else if you guys have it. If you want to talk about any other players today.
Let's see. Well, Nate, you got anything? I can pull some stuff up here. I've already got a second and third round mock ready. I don't know what you guys. You may see a very impromptu live stream right here on this channel after about 5 p.m. Eastern when I get off work. But yeah, so I'll be pulling up some names here. But Nate, you got anything?
No, I don't really have anything else to add.
The other, yeah. So here, I'll fire off just a couple of names, some really interesting names. Obviously, we know about Will Levis. John has mentioned Brian Branch in the chat several times. Michael Mayer, for no reason, I can't imagine why I would continue to want to push that agenda. Osiris Torrance, that was a name Trevor mentioned earlier. I would also throw that out as another very viable option for the Colts at 35. They have 2 gaping holes in their O-line, and one of them is at guard, so that could be an option there. Of course, we talked about DeWandre the Giant, DeJuan Jones, John Michael Schmitz, I think, is another talent right there at center for those who need it. So, yeah, still a lot of talent here that we could see going in the early few rounds. So I look forward to watching it. I hope you guys are going to be tuning in.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. I wish my Chiefs had a couple more picks tonight, but I think they're just sitting on 2. Just their 2 original picks. So you always like to see more if you can get more just to have fun with it. But yeah, they're just picking twice. So interesting to see if they pick up that second wide receiver, if they just continue to bolster the trenches, which definitely is needed for the Kansas City Chiefs. You mentioned a couple names. There's some cornerbacks out there, right? Tyreek Stevenson, Joey Porter Jr., a guy that we expected to go in the first round. He's still sitting there. So there's going to be some guys here early in the second round that are going to be interesting. Julius Brents out of K-State is still out there. I mentioned Keon White earlier. A lot of defensive guys that we'll see what happens in this second round. There's your boy, Justin Herbert. He must have heard us talking about him earlier.
I'm gonna make a guarantee that Joey Porter Jr. goes pick number 32 to the Steelers because it just makes a ton of sense for a variety of reasons. That's my guarantee.
I love that legacy pick. Yeah, shout out to Justin Herbert in the chat. I think I might have been muted when I tried to shout you out the first time, brother. But we appreciate you once again. Fan of the week. We don't have that as an award yet, but Justin is our top viewer. We appreciate you. Go ahead and check. You're going to want to watch the tape, sir. We talked about your team a little bit before we got here.
Yeah, we talked about that terrible Quentin Johnston pick before you got here. Bolt down. Nate, I agree with you. That Joey Porter Jr. to the Steelers is what we mocked in our mock draft. If I remember correctly, we did that in the first round, obviously. So for them to get him here at pick 32 will be a really strong pick. And I think that you're spot on. And I like your guarantee there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anything else, or let's we're right at an hour and a half. Nate, I'll let you kind of give your closing thoughts, and of course, let everyone know how they can find you on social media.
You can find me at Ben Hammond Turkey most places. Just overall crazy draft, and I just realized because I was looking through the YouTube comments as well. I apparently said sniffing air freshener, and I can't believe I said that. So, that's my morning to you.
I thought it was perfect. I mean, sniffing air fresheners, huffing paint, whatever they were doing.
Still not supposed to just, sniff that either way. So even though, it's a good smelling thing, I wouldn't suggest inhaling it. So I think you're still on track, Nate. You're all right. At least you'll put mayonnaise in your coffee.
That was a great. I should have. I'll make sure I go back and clip that. And just sniffing air fresheners. We could just load it into the StreamYard. So anytime somebody makes like a hot take that nobody agrees with, we'll just like throw Nate on the. Are you sniffing air fresheners?
Oh, I can. Hey, a Stream Deck is in the future. All right, so we can have one of those Howard Stern-esque soundboards or
It
something.
would be
you know,
awesome.
and there we go.
Just
Boom,
Nate sniffing air fresheners.
That is fantastic. I love it. Well, I'll go ahead and hop in here and give my where you can find me stuff. Of course, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, anywhere the internet is made at KevNevick _. And of course, Thursday nights, The Bounce, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here, Bite Size Sports. You can find me and our dear friend James talking the NBA, a little bit of college hoops too, especially as we get past the playoffs and into the draft. So that'll be a little bit down the road. But also, for those of you who aren't early morning birds, you should subscribe, follow us on Twitter, be ready to be notified when our late night show, Late Night Bites, gets back up and running. It will include the Wild World of Sports, our former What the Hell is Going On show, as a segment. So that's going to be me, some of our dear friends here at Bite Size Sports. We're going to start probably 11 p.m. Eastern. Let's say Wednesdays right now is the day I'm shooting for. But the only way to know is to be subscribed, notifications turned on, and to probably follow one of our many social medias, because our man Trevor up there does a great job of making sure everyone knows when we do stuff. That's something I wasn't quite as good at back in the day. So appreciate you, Trevor, while we're here. Thank you very much. And let's see, not to forget, thank you. Yes, be right here at 10 a.m. for, it might still be technically a bite and early, but it's a weekend, guys. So we're gonna let you have some time. It's biting midday. There we go. No, see, check us out at 10. Can't wait to talk racing, MLB, college football, NFL draft with David Westergreen tomorrow. Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I said it once. I'll say it again. I am pumped to jump in and watch that stream tomorrow morning with you, Nate, and David. That's going to be awesome. The iRacing car number 9 Bite Size Sports brand. No, that's going to be an awesome show. Unfortunately, he, along with a couple of you, are Cubs fans, so I might not like the MLB talk too much. I'll make sure I bring my Cardinals takes, although they are sucking this year. And we miss Yachty. So,
yeah, have fun with Olson Contreras.
yeah,
Or as Pat Hughes would say, Contreras. Like,
it is not going well. It is not going well. The pitching has been horrid. But I'll sign us off here. Y'all, thank you so much for waking up with us here on Biting Early. Loved being able to get on here and give our reactions to the first round and what we're looking forward to for tonight. You can find me on social media at Trevor S_FF. I am on here every other Wednesday night right now for Another Damn Fantasy podcast. My host and I, Dan Portillo, we'll be on here this next Wednesday, obviously recapping the draft in a fantasy football through a fantasy football lens. I'll get to talk more about Anthony Richardson. So if you love him as much as I do, join us on Wednesday night, 8:15 Central. We do the 8:15 so I can get my kids to bed before we get on the show. And then I will be bringing back Rumbles of Red. The Underdog just announced Best Ball Mania 4. So I will be doing Best Ball live drafts every other Friday. So I will be starting actually 2 weeks from today. For those of you who are keeping track, it'll be opposite of ADP, just to continue to keep that going. But every Friday night, 8:15 Central, live Best Ball drafts. I'm super pumped to get that rolling as Best Ball Mania 4 has been announced. It is, I'm going for that 3 million. So that way, I can just stop working and just be here all day. That is the payout for this year, is 3 million. So it's the third year in a row they have increased that from $1 million to $2 million last year to $3 million this year. Best Ball is a lot of fun. So if you want to just do drafts, if you like drafts, if you like just fantasy football in general, come check me out, Rumbles of Red, every other Friday night starting in 2 weeks. I will also be on tonight on Tyler the Creator's YouTube channel. I'll make sure I tweet that out. But if you just want to see me again tonight, 10:30 to 11:30, burning the midnight oil, talking, just NFL draft stuff and round 2 recapping that. So everywhere you want, you can find us, all of us here at Bite Size Sports. But for now, we will sign off. Thank you so much for joining us on Bite and Early. King Felix comes home. Anthony Richardson goes to the right place. And the Bears, a good but boring Darnell Wright. So it was great picks for all of our teams yesterday. Thank you all, and have a great day.